It's very difficult to do my type of jobs without money behind you. To survive and to do like good business with international artists, you have to guarantee that you have good money behind you. It's a risky business. It's demanding.
Hello and welcome to our latest episode of Garry Talks, which is our final one for Series 3 of the show. This week, our special guest is Carlo Pellegrino, who is the senior promoter for Vivo Concerti, one of the biggest events companies in Italy. Carlo has been involved in the music industry for over 10 years, but his passion for music, ability to quickly discover upcoming artists and trends, and also his negotiation skills in bringing some of the biggest international acts to Italy has made him a valuable asset in the industry. I've known Carlo as a friend for quite a few years, but his work ethic has always consistently impressed me. He's very driven, isn't afraid to take risks, and always wants to bring value to his work. A few years ago, he even ran his own company, and he talks about both the success he achieved and the lessons he learned during that journey. This is a great episode for music fans, those involved in managing events or sealing deals, but even for anyone who loves to hear people be open and honest about a career of passion and challenges. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
This is a GK Media podcast.
Carlo Pellegrino, thank you for joining me on Garry Talks today.
Thanks for having me.
It is Easter Sunday. We are here on the outskirts of Milan and we've just had a feast of food. So in Ireland, we'd usually have lamb.
Yeah.
That's it. Why don't you tell the listeners the monstrosity and variety of food we had right now?
I mean, we are in Italy, so I feel like I don't have to tell them everything, but I mean, it's been a long journey today. So yeah, we're very tired. So forgive me in advance if if I'm not 100% ready for this interview.
Yeah, so there's like 5 courses and lots of wine and Amaro and Prosecco.
And we're not finished yet, I think. Yeah.
Good, okay.
Yeah. And just taking a break.
And typical Italian family as well. There's like 20 people upstairs and the kids are going mad now because they're opening Easter eggs. So we just had to get out of here and hide. And thank you for bringing me to Milan city centre last night as well.
No problem.
It's a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Thank you also for... It's one of the cool things about the job you have. I can't do cool things really for anyone, but you got us tickets to Måneskin.
Yeah.
Which was brilliant.
Yeah, do you like the show?
It was brilliant. First time I came across them was in the Eurovision.
Yeah.
And they were tipped at the time to win the Eurovision, which they did. But of course, for Italian people, you would have been quite familiar with them for maybe a couple of years prior because they did really big in X Factor Italy.
Yeah, that's true. We started working with them since they were like still in the X Factor, and we promote like the very first tour of them, which was very small venues, very underground vibes. And now, I mean, it's incredible what they achieved during the last couple of years. I mean, it's been huge. So
yeah, like 3 of the band members are 22 and one the singer's 24.
They're still very young, yeah.
And they featured in the soundtrack of the Elvis movie that Baz Luhrmann did.
Yeah.
And they're millionaires already. I mean, isn't that the dream?
Yeah, it is a dream. It is a dream, but they still can do more. I mean, they're getting like very big also in the US or in Asia at the moment. So the process is still long, but it's kind of unique what they are doing across the world. For an Italian band, it's like a unique thing. So yeah.
But look, it's not just Måneskin that you work with. I got to go to Tommaso Paradiso last year.
Yeah.
He was really good. And he was with the band, The Journalists.
Yeah.
And we went to Florence and the Machine a few years ago as well. And she's amazing. But like the artists that you're working with at the moment, Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, yeah.
Lewis Capaldi, Sam Smith. These are all under the Vivo umbrella. So you're the senior promoter. And Vivo Concerti is one of the biggest events, promotion companies in Italy. And at least within the top 15 in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
And you do music festivals, concerts, theatre shows, exhibitions, world tours.
Yeah, as you say, Vivo Concerti is one of the main live concert promoter in the world. At the moment, we are, I think, number 13 per gross per year and number of ticket sales per year. And one of the main in Italy, of course. And for me personally, I don't work personally with all the artists you mentioned, but with a good number of that. So, I mean, it's a great job and it's also a passion for me. So it's kind of easy to do that, because when you like something, it's easy for you to do sacrifices and to do like efforts to achieve what you want to do. But it's like, it's been a long ride for me, because I've been doing this job since 2012, but it gave me like ups and downs during the years. But now, I'm happy with what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah.
So even go through the journey, how does someone get into music promotion?
I mean, it was kind of casual for me, and for what I heard during these years, I think it happened to a lot of us. It's not something, except for particular cases, it's not something like you studied for, because I've done like very different study from what I'm doing right now, because I studied architecture, so totally different things. But when I was studying, I remembered that a friend of mine was working at Vivo at the moment, and he asked me, do you want to join me? Maybe it can be interesting for you. And Vivo was like the main promoter for all the music I was listening to at the moment, because they were doing like Arctic Monkeys and Muse and all the stuff like that during the start of 2010. So yeah, I decided to give it a try. At the beginning, I thought, I mean, it can be like just a moment. Like I can do that while I'm finishing my study, and then after that, probably I will become an architect. But when I started with that, I don't know, it kind of, things keep happening all the time. So it became more interesting year after year. So after a few years, I realized that is going to be in my life. So I decided to go 100% for it. And I've done basically all the roles you can do in a promoter company, because I've done ticketing, I've done contracts, I've done payments, I've done booking, I've done basically everything. And then the managing director of Vivo, Clemente Zard, gave me the trust to do like what I'm doing right now. And I think the results were pretty good, so I'm happy for that.
And you get to travel around quite a bit. Like you were in LA there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
What were you up to?
That is a good part of my job. I mean, we go to London many times during the years for meetings with the live agency we work with, because all the live agency that represents all the artists across the world are based in London and in LA. During the last few years, London probably was more relevant for like rock acts. But now with the hip hop taking over, LA is becoming the center of the type of music. So it is becoming more important for us to show up in LA, to do meetings in LA because of that. So yeah.
Which is interesting, because for your survival, you have to keep adapting and changing to whatever is trending at the moment.
Yeah.
So you're saying that rock was huge initially anyways.
Yeah.
And it's phasing out a little bit maybe, and hip hop is the new thing coming in.
Yeah.
And who's the big inspiration of hip hop for Italians? Who's the big artist?
I mean, it depends, because in Italy, youngest generation are listening to a lot of hip hops at the moment. If you look like at the first 50 position in the Spotify Italian charts, probably 40 are occupied by Italian domestic hip hop acts. So I don't know, maybe Salmo is one of the biggest one at the moment. Lazza obviously is doing very well. But the youngest generation are also listening to a lot of international hip hop acts. So it's becoming way easier for us like to bring artists from the US to Italy, which was like inconceivable like a few years ago. Maybe just 5 years ago, if you told, I don't know, I want to do like a Kendrick Lamar show in Italy, I want to do a Drake show in Italy, probably people would have thought like, you're crazy, because these artists are huge everywhere. But Italy, it wasn't a market ready for this type of artists. So probably you would have sold like way less tickets than other markets across Europe. So that was the reason why the main international tours of this type wasn't passing through Italy at that time. But now the market is changing a lot. Like Travis Scott sold like 80,000 tickets in Italy this year.
Wow.
So it's kind of incredible. Last year with Kendrick, we were around 30,000. So it was a huge result for us.
Who were you planning to bring in 2020 from America? Was it Lamar?
Yeah, it was Kendrick. It was Kendrick.
And then everything obviously stopped with
COVID.
COVID.
Everything stopped with COVID. because I work with Vivo since 2012 to 2018. Then I left and I decided to try to have my own company. And at the time I was like able to confirm Kendrick on my own, which was like incredible for me, was a huge result. And he was supposed to play Rock in Roma, which is one of the main festival series in Italy. But then COVID came in, and obviously this was dramatic for me because I was on my own at the moment without big funds behind me. So I have like to rethink everything. Me and my business partner decided to split, so I have to find a solution. I talked with all the main Italian agency, but it was easy for me to find an agreement with Vivo because obviously we knew each other very well. And so I go back to Vivo and now working again with them since 2020, and I'm very happy about it.
Usually when I talk to people on the show, they might go from being an employee to then becoming their own business person.
Yeah.
So you've done that transition, but then you've gone back to being an employee again.
Yeah.
So tell me about your experience of running your own business and what was good and what was the reality of the difficulties that you faced.
I mean, it was like ups and downs because obviously you have more freedom. So you're free to do what you want, basically. But it's very difficult to do my type of jobs without money behind you. Because obviously, especially maybe not for a young Italian artist, because you can work with young domestic acts without great money. But I mean, to survive and to do like good business with international artists, you have to guarantee that you have good money behind you. So that probably was the main difficulty I faced at the time. I mean, it's a type of job, it's very difficult to do without that. So now that years passed, I mean, I can say that it was too risky for me to take the step at the moment. But I mean, it's a lesson. So like every lesson, you learn from that and you grow from that. So I'm thankful in a way. Yeah.
How does it work then with these international acts? Do you have to pay them a big deposit to get them on an airplane to come over?
Basically, you do an offer based on what you think they can sell in Italy. So you basically do like a provisional file on the type of ticket price you want to apply and the result you can get, and then you send an offer based also on the production cost you expect. And usually, I mean, with main international artists, you have to pay good money in advance, like at least 50% or sometimes 100% in advance. So yeah, it's a big risk because you're not sure about the result. Even with big international artists, you don't know how many tickets you will sell, especially in not an English-speaking country like Italy. So it's easier, probably if you do this job like in England, it's easier, of course, maybe bringing American artists to England. But if you do that in Italy, I mean, you're not so sure anytime you send an offer like that. So
you could send out a check for $1 million to some artist in America and not actually be sure if you can sell that number of tickets. You're hoping, you've done the research, but there's no guarantee.
Yeah. Yeah. There is no insurance about that. So it's a bit risky.
And has it ever happened that you've made an offer and brought an artist over and just tickets didn't?
Yeah, it happened many times. And you have to you work on promo and you try to sell more tickets. But sometimes, I mean, you don't sell tickets at all. And probably this is a perception that the audience don't have of our job. Probably audience go to concerts and they see everything realized. You don't have the perception that people is working on that concert, on that particular show, probably since 1 year before. You don't know how many roles are involved in that process. So it's kind of strange. Probably you discover that only if you start working in this business. So it's a risky business. It's demanding also on the mental side. Probably you don't have a lot of big breaks during the year. Because especially during the summer is a very important period for us, probably the busiest period of the year. So you don't have holidays like normal people do.
Yeah, because with respect, you always look wrecked. You always look tired.
Thank you for that.
But that's a compliment in the sense of that you're always working. Like you have a huge work ethic. And I suppose the thing as well that I think is important for people to understand is, you know, if you go into the office in Milan and you're there at 9 and you finish at 6 or sometimes 7, sometimes then you're actually heading out to the concert venue and you're there then all night and getting home at midnight. And then you're back in the office.
That's true.
Again the next morning. Like it's full on.
Or sometimes you get called like from Los Angeles at their normal business time. And for us, like it's not night. So it's very like, as I said, it's very demanding, but work is important for me. You know that. I told to you about work many times. So you know that. But especially after COVID, I discovered that I have to give priority to other stuff. And also the mental care is important. So yeah, work is important, but you have to try to not think about it every time, like night and day. So I try to do that. It's not easy because like, especially with the phones we have, with the full connection we have everywhere we are, it's kind of impossible to not receive mails and calls and messages, but you have to take your time. So that's my biggest advice for who wants to do this job.
And I suppose life has changed for you in the last year as well, because you got married last September.
Yeah.
So you have no choice now. You can't be focused 100% on work all the time.
Yeah. My wife, she was doing basically the same job because we worked together in the same company for many years. So probably she understands a lot of things better than other people. It would have been difficult for me to find someone outside of my job because people outside of the job cannot fully understand our way of living. It's a job that demands you a lot of things. I mean, you have to focus on that 100% if you want to do it at the highest level. But, you know, that can give you like big satisfaction. So probably sometimes dissatisfaction is the most important achievement you had, even more important than money and stuff. I mean, when you say like an arena full of people and you know you work on that for a year, I mean, that's huge for you. When the lights go out and then the music starts, I mean, and you see that the people is very happy about that, that gives you back something. So in a way, I mean, it's important.
What artists have you really enjoyed working with?
That's a difficult question because in a way I love working with all the artists I work with. It's great to see when you start working with young domestic acts and you see like the process. So during the years you see the growth of the artist, maybe starting from small clubs to arena tours. So that's a great satisfaction.
And do you see something in those young artists where you're like, you know, early on, that one will do really well and that one doesn't have it?
I mean, as I said before, it's a risk. I mentioned that risk about international artists, but it's the same for domestic acts. So when you decide, I wanna try on this one, but you're never really sure about what happened because there are so many factors that can change everything. I mean, the most important probably the people the artist is working with, because the artist is working with a particular management, with a label, with a press office. And the best way to make a project works is when all the parts of the artist work together to get a result. So you never know. It's basically a total risk you take, but sometimes you see some signals that give you like the green light, and you say, okay, this is the one I can work with. Probably this one is going to make it. So after a few years, probably it's easy for you to see those green lights.
And you probably come across artists as well who have huge potential, but then they go down a road of maybe thinking they're bigger and better than they are already, and they might go down the lifestyle of drugs, the whole rock and roll story, and they never become the full shining star that they could have been.
Yeah, I think I recognize people after a few years. So I'm lucky enough to work with people that have like a professional ethic like myself. So, and also maybe that management is has a certain way of thinking things. So I'm becoming good at this thing. So I'm becoming good at recognizing people and see when they are humble enough to make work the priority, not other stuff. So this is becoming easier after a few years.
Where do you get your drive to work as hard as you do? I've known you for many, many years now.
Yeah.
But you're really self-driven. You've always come across as strong work ethic, and it's from within. But I'm wondering what lit that fire within you?
The passion. If you do a work where you're not passionate about, probably you don't give 100% yourself to achieve those goals. If you're lucky enough to work in an area you're passionate about, you do more than normal. So, yeah.
But I think if you were working in architecture, you'd be the exact same. I think it's something deeper than the passion.
I'm not sure because after years I discovered like architecture was not 100% my passion. I mean, I was very good at drawings when I was younger, but it wasn't like a passion. It was something like I was doing, but I was not 100% focused on that. And doing concerts, doing shows, working in this business, I discovered that this is really what I like. I listen to a lot of music. I do a lot of research. So probably that's the main reason. Sometimes, I mean, I listen to an artist from, I don't know, LA or maybe from Japan, and I thought probably no one has ever listened to these artists. And then you discover that now with TikTok, with social networks, there are millions of people that are listening to the same artist. And maybe you bring him to Italy and you like sell a lot of tickets, and this is a huge satisfaction, because if it wasn't for your personal research, you never discovered that artist. So probably that's what I like about the job the most. Yeah.
So you mentioned TikTok. So I know years ago, having worked in the industry myself a little bit through radio.
Yeah.
As a music promoter, we'll say 20 years ago in Ireland, it was easy enough to see who was popular. It was what records, like CDs or vinyls or cassette tapes, were selling the most in the record shops. You had your Top of the Pops, you had your charts every week. And then you could liaise with the radio stations, see what songs were people ringing up and requesting to be played. It was very easy to track what artists were popular.
Yeah.
And there was very few paths you had to go down to get that information. Now the landscape has completely changed. So where do you tap in to get your research of what's trending?
I don't know. I mean, it's like an instinct. It's like personal taste. Then with Spotify and platforms like that, probably it's easier to track down what is trending at the moment. But for the most, it's like personal taste, to be honest. Now it's more difficult for us because I'm close to be in my 40s at the moment. So I was thinking probably if I were like 17 or 18 right now, at a younger age, with all the instruments I have right now, I'll be like a killer. It will be way easier for me. Now I'm close to my 40s, so sometimes it's very difficult to put myself on the same line of people who has like half of my age. So this is probably the most difficult part at the moment, but I'm lucky enough. We are like a very young company. My board, my boss is like Clemente Zard and Andrea Ritrovato, which are managing director and general manager of Vivo Concerti. They are 34, so they are younger than me. And all the offices, we're like 50 people, and they are like from 25 to 40 maximum. So we are a very young company. So there is an exchange also in the office. So it's easy to talk with people that maybe I listen to an artist you have never listened to. And it's easier for who does my job to get to these artists. So, yeah.
So are the majority of your customers, in other words, customers being those who go to these concerts that you organize, are the majority of them in their 20s?
Yeah, probably, yes. At the moment, yeah. It depends on the artist. So I would not generalize on that. The majority of the audience says, it's in the 20s. They weren't ready to buy tickets a few years ago, especially for their age. But now they have like facilitation, especially from Italian governments, to buy tickets at the moment. So they have power to buy tickets. So we can see and we can feel the difference in the market right now, because people who listen and discover to new music, now they are facilitated to buy tickets. So we saw that change in the last few years.
As in people have more money now to go to concerts, is
Yeah,
there?
and there is also a facilitation from the government. If you are at a young age, you have 500 euros per year to buy tickets. It's a bonus the government does.
To buy tickets to events?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's very useful for our job. And we can see the difference because when we announce a young artist that maybe is trending on TikTok, maybe it's easier to get sold out on that show. And this was like more difficult years ago.
That's a brilliant incentive by the Italian government.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
One thing that raised the flag there when you're talking about, you know, the young people working in your company at the moment and how the bosses are in their mid-30s and kind of the eldest person might be in their early 40s. What's the lifespan, career-wise, for someone in this industry like yourself?
I mean, it depends, but the life of this job can be really long. I think in other companies in Italy, we have people in their 70s that are still doing this job at the maximum level. So it's a job that is demanding, very demanding, but in a certain way, it's like a drug. So you cannot get rid of it very easily. So the lifelong can be very long, to be honest. Yeah.
And is the secret then about the artist that you can bring to the table? Is that what helps with the longevity of being in this industry? You have the connections and you can bring big international acts, or you can find upcoming domestic acts.
Yeah, for my particular role is based on results. So if I don't give them results, obviously I am not needed anymore. So I have to perform every year. I have to bring results every year. If I don't, obviously, my life in this industry won't be very long.
So if you're sitting at home and you listen to a Kendrick Lamar song on Spotify and then you say, I think I'll bring him to Italy. How does that happen?
Kendrick, it was like easier because obviously it was huge everywhere, but it was a risk for me because Italy wasn't like the best market in the world for hip-hop artists. And in this case, obviously, you have to know the person Kendrick's work with. So you have to know like his agents, the company, the booking company he works with. And then you try to establish a relationship. You send over an offer, but it's a long journey. Basically, they don't give artists of that type to everyone. So you have to convince them that you're doing like the best possible choices for the artist. Probably they're going to get other offers from other promoters. So you have to be ready to fight for it.
Yeah, you're competing with other promoters in Italy, but also probably there could be someone in the UK saying, look, we'll give you 5 nights here instead of you going to Italy for 1 night or something. So
yeah, and that's probably why many artists don't do Italy in their headline runs. You can see, especially for American rappers, you see like a lot of headline tours which pass through many other countries but don't pass through Italy. The answer for a person who does my job, it's pretty easy because we don't give them the same amounts of money. We cannot guarantee the same ticket prices. On the international side, the market is more ready to higher ticket prices. Here, if you do a ticket price like higher than 100 euros, people think you're crazy. But in the future, I think that Italy will be closer to these other markets because the market is ready, the market is changing, the market is ready to bring over this type of artists finally. So people is getting more used to those type of ticket prices.
And even Måneskin, as an example, I mean, they did 3 nights in a row last week in Milan, 12,000 arena. So that's like over 30,000 people in 3 nights. They're coming back there again. They're also doing the San Siro, and that's just Milan.
Yeah.
And then there's all over Italy as well that they're performing.
Yeah.
Plus abroad, internationally. Like you look after them internationally as well, don't you?
Yeah, my company does them internationally. We are doing a world tour at the end of this year. They're selling great number of tickets everywhere, so we're very happy about it. Yeah, they're doing an amazing job outside of Italy.
Talk to me about the skill then of negotiating. How do you become a good negotiator when you're looking to bring an artist over? I
think it comes with the experience. After a few years, you have the experience to understand the people you're talking to and maybe to find the key to obtain the result you want. So it comes with the experience. After a few years, I mean, you become like good at this job. So yeah, you have to try and try and try and not stop. Even at the beginning, probably you will receive like a lot of no, because obviously this work is based on relationship. And at the beginning, you don't have the number of relationship you would need to bring over a lot of artists, a lot of good artists to obtain good results. But you have to obtain the trust of the people you work with. You obtain the trust maybe with failures, or maybe with bringing over like small artist that sells like 10 tickets on a show. So you have to do sacrifice, you have to try to do that. And after that, you'll get the trust to do like big things. Yeah, it comes with the years. I think it's the same on your job. I don't think you would give a project, an important project, to a person you don't know, a person you don't trust. So I think in every business, this is the same.
Yeah, it's interesting talking about relationships, because I was going back on new clients that we had last year in the company. So I think 29% of our business at GK Media last year was all new clients. And I broke it all down and went through each of them and realized that it was down to building up a relationship over the last few years that they became a new client last year. And then I looked at all our current clients that we've had for the last few years and realized how reliant we are on relationships in each of those organizations for it to work. So it's not really the company as such coming to us, it's the relationship we've built with those people in that company that come to us. And I think it's so important for people to realize the importance, the effort, the investment that needs to be put into relationships.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, like about our my travel trips, like the one I've just done to LA. It's very important to give face to an email, to establish like a real relationship with people. Because our job, I mean, it can seem like a very distant job, like you do like from your computer and stuff. But the best business in my life, probably I've closed them like in front of a beer or at a restaurant. So our work is really based on that. So it's one of the most important things in our job.
Do you read a lot of books then about business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I read a lot of books, especially in the past few years. I remember one that I particularly loved. It was Shoe Dog.
Yes.
The one about the Nike founder.
You gave me a copy of that.
Yeah. That was very inspiring. It shows you like how you can build something from scratch. I mean, based on your ideas, on your way of thinking. Even if you don't have like big money behind you, you can like build something great. So yeah, it was pretty inspirational.
And then for you, is the success when you close the deal in the restaurant, or is it when the lights go down and the stage becomes alive in the arena?
It's a mixture of that. It's you feel like the satisfaction when you close the deal, especially if it was like a very long
process.
Yeah, a long process before the confirmation. So probably, yeah, that's the main satisfaction you can get when you see people happy. I remember when, after all the struggle I have to get Kendrick to Italy, last year in 2022, we were able to confirm Milan and to do like almost 30,000 people in Milan, which was incredible. And I remember that when the first note started and the lights go out and the people was like screaming and stuff, there is a video of me and I was crying and I literally cannot stop myself from crying because, I mean, all the tension you get from these months and all the work you've done. And then suddenly everything goes out and it's all like happiness and stuff. So yeah, it's a great feeling. Probably in sport, probably is like a goal after months and months of struggling.
Yeah, because you're a big soccer fan as well. You got to meet your idol last year, was it?
Yeah, it was a present from my friend for my wedding. So yeah, he brings me to meet Roberto Baggio, which was my biggest sporting idol when I was a kid. So yeah, it was great.
And was it great meeting your idol? Because I've had that experience in the past, meeting the people, and it's like, oh, this isn't...
It depends.
They're not as nice as I expected them to be.
It depends. I think it depends on the idol you choose. I think that Everybody knows that Roberto Baggio is the type of person everyone loves. So, yeah, I think he, in a way, maintained like my expectation of him. So, yeah, it was very nice. It was a very lovely day. So, yeah, it was a great experience.
There's a great movie of him on Netflix as well.
Yeah, there is a movie on Netflix. I watched it like several times because my wife hates me for that.
What sacrifices have you had to make?
As I said, you have to sacrifice a lot of things, and especially probably your personal life, because you don't have like a lot of weekends, a lot of holidays. When you have holidays, like you don't enjoy that 100%. I remember there once during an August holiday, I was in New York on the top of Empire State Building, and I was confirming a show on my phone. So it was kind of crazy. But yeah, these are sacrifices that are necessary.
Yeah, because this is the thing about the concerts. They're always on at a time when people socialize, meaning that you can socialize because you're at them.
Yeah. Yeah, you see people socializing, being happy, and you're probably the most stressed people in that place at the moment. So yeah, you not enjoy the moments as much as people do. But as I told you, the satisfaction you get from realizing that project is bigger than the sacrifice you do. It repays you of everything, so you forget about all the sacrifices made.
In terms then of the big lesson in life that you've learned, which often might be through failure or mistake, what would it be for you?
I feel it's like taking care of yourself. Because, I mean, I've been through a lot. I've been through failure. I've been through success. But the most important lesson, as I said, I got it from COVID, from the 2 years probably we stopped working at all because our sector stopped working. We couldn't do anything at the time. But I discovered a lot of things. I spend more time with my family. I spend more time thinking about myself and what I've done in the past, and I learn a lot. And I think that people who works with me now can see the changes and can see the progress I made during that time.
So what do you do today that you didn't do 4 years ago for yourself?
I think that basically I take my time. So I take my time to do stuff. I'm very trained and used to work under like tight time constraint and stressful situation. But now I have the confidence to say, look, okay, this is important, but also my life is important. So probably if I answer to that email a few hours later, no one is dying for that. So probably that's the most important lesson I learned from this year.
Excellent. Carlo Pellegrino, thank you for joining me on Garry Talks. Shall we go upstairs and eat more food now?
Yeah. Thank you for the lovely chat. It was great.
Grazie. And indeed, we ate even more after our chat last Sunday. So much so that I couldn't eat for about 18 hours afterwards. Thank you for listening to the final episode in this series of Garry Talks, and thank you to all my guests who joined me over the past few months and so kindly shared their stories. Please spread the word about the podcast and follow Garry Talks on social media. I'll be back later this year with more guests, more stories and more insights. Continued success to you for the rest of the year, and I look forward to talking to you again in the coming months. Take care.